Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. My name is Pooja Dwivedi and today we shall talk about a very important topic from the perspective of GS Mains Paper 2nd and 3rd, the Global Day of Jihad. What threats does it pose to the entire world? Because it has the potential to spawn lone wolf attacks. Other than this, what security threats does this concept pose to India? We are going to discuss it from a larger perspective. Do not worry about making notes because I provide the notes through my Telegram channel. That is by the name of Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. If you have any queries or doubts regarding this examination, talk to me on my Instagram. Now let's move forward. A former Hamas leader, Khalid Mashal, has called upon all the Muslims to support the holy war against Israel, to give support to the emotive Al-Aqsa and also Jerusalem. He has called upon it as a duty on all the Muslims around the world. And that is why the cause can be mobilized only through the usage of the word jihad. What is this word? Let's talk about it. So jihad actually means exertion or struggle. It is sometimes also referred to as the sixth pillar of Islam. The roots are in Quran. Quran's command to struggle in the path of God. Now, the cause can differ, and that is why we can infer it and interpret it in many manners. Also, it puts an obligation incumbent on all Muslims and Muslim individuals as well as a community to lead a virtuous life, a good life, a moral life, basically. Other than this, to extend the Islamic community. How? Not by force, but by preaching, by educating them about what are the important principles and good principles of Islam. What example do we have in front of us? And about writings as well. So that is why we have to understand it from a liberal perspective and not a conservative perspective. Why? Because this word has been actually misinterpreted and used according to the cause. And of course, if we talk about to extend the Islamic community, do we not have a fundamental right that is provided to us to propagate our religion, but not forcibly convert someone? So propagation is different and forcible conversions are different. And this word has been interpreted by various groups in a more constricted manner. Also, indeed, the obligation to defend Islam and the community from aggression. This is also jihad. So that is why this word has been used more so often in a constricted way and not in a liberal way. Now, if we talk about the currency and the usage of this word jihad, it has gained a lot of currency specifically in the late 20th century and early 21st century. And the thing is that jihad can be used for resistance, it can be used for liberation and also terrorist movements. That is why it has been used by many terrorist organizations such as Afghan Mujahideen. Also, the Taliban has used this word in order to fight against the foreign forces, against the US and allies in Afghanistan. It has also been used by Chechnya, Dagestan and the southern Philippines, Bosnia and Kosovo. In Israel, it is used by Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad Palestine. In Algeria, it is used by the Algeria's armed Islamic group. Even Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, they waged a global war against Muslim governments and against the Western world alike under the usage of this word jihad. So why this word is used by anybody, by Muslim clerics, by Muslim leaders, by terrorist groups alike? Because they want to mobilize the followers in order to give their cause a legitimate movement. Why should you even wage jihad against another party? Because of the cause, and cause can be very emotional. For the particular moment, in the current situation, Al-Aqsa Mosque is the one that is very emotive in nature. It spurs emotions across the world among all Muslims, because Mecca, Medina and the Al-Aqsa Mosque are the three main very holy regions or places for the Muslims. And that is why this word jihad has been used in the current context. Moving on. Now we talk about the Global Day of Jihad. as I have already told you, this Global Day of Jihad has been called upon by a former Hamas leader, Khalid Mashhad. And he has called upon all the Muslims to support the current Palestinian cause for Al-Aqsa Mosque, for the preservation of Al-Aqsa Mosque. Other than this, for the preservation of Jerusalem and the holy war against Israel. And yes, it has caused a rage around the world. This rage can be seen by this. A student of Chechnya ethnicity has stabbed a teacher in France, and the French school and authorities, they have linked this stabbing with this radicalization that is going on. Radicalization is very easy when there is an emotion attached to it. Also, we have to understand that right now, whatever is going on in the West Asian region or Middle East, it is more so like a tribal conflict. We have to understand Quran as well. Many critics of Quran, they suggest that war has been mentioned time and again in Quran. And that is not only specific to Quran. Even Hebrew Bible, even in the Old Testament, Hebrew scriptures, I would say. Hebrew scriptures in Old Testament, war has been a common thing for back then, for people back then. So it was a common course of life. Because back then, that region where these books have been written, they were tribal in nature. And it wasn't actually something out of context that war is mentioned over there. The thing is that in order to take care of the Old Testament, in order to ensure that the Old Testament isn't criticized on that ground, New Testament was brought into existence. So we have to understand that the current conflict is more so like a tribal conflict. And the books that have been written back then, they have been written in a context of the situation that was prevailing. So we have to now interpret it in a more liberal perspective. Even if we talk about Prophet Muhammad, when he returned from the battle, he said that we have gone through the lesser jihad, now we have to go to the greater jihad. That is jihad within oneself, trying to reform oneself, trying to lead a model, truthful life. This has been the interpretation. There has been criticism of Quran and there has been criticism of Old Testament alike because war has been mentioned. So we cannot just say that a particular community or a particular group is inherently, volatile or violent in nature because what has been written in their books. Now we can do one thing. We can reform them. We can make them understand and aware about the situation that was back then and the situation that is now. And that is why jihad has to be interpreted in a more open manner by even the communities that are following them and in the other communities as well. All right, let's move forward and talk about the other issue that has arisen. That was a lone wolf attack. What is a lone wolf attack? Organized crimes are very different from lone wolf attack. Organized terrorism is very different from lone wolf attack. Lone wolf attack is the attack in which an individual can be radicalized in such a manner that they will give into effect the crime that the organized terrorism had to do. It is very easy to radicalize people through social media, through propaganda that is right now going on. Between Israel and Hamas, you will see social media flooded with propaganda. Neither side can be trusted. You cannot either trust what the Israeli ministry is saying and also what Israeli military forces are saying and what the Hamas is saying. Why? Because this has become a battle of propaganda. Through social media, it is very easy to infiltrate into people's mind through propaganda. Many videos are also surfacing. So we cannot belong either side. We cannot talk about either side. We have to talk about in a balanced perspective. Also, if I have to point out one more thing over here, is please try to understand it from the UPSC perspective. If you're a UPSC aspirant, if you're not a UPSC aspirant, you can definitely take sides. That is your thing. But if you're going to write answers, you have to ensure you have to toe the lines of the Ministry of External Affairs. And Ministry of External Affairs has flagged the Hamas, attack as terrorism, but it has also supported the Palestinian cause, which has been our stand. Also, the shift in policy is being developed right now by the Modi government, by the current government. But that shift is not something that is totally different from the other government. So write this particular answer in a more balanced perspective. You cannot believe either side. Why? because lot of propaganda is going on through social media. All right, just believe what the Ministry of External Affairs is saying from the perspective of this examination. Moving on, Israeli diplomat has been stabbed in China, hospitalized according to a report, and this official has been stabbed on the same day when the Global Day of Rage or Jihad was called. So it is very easy to radicalize people through emotive causes. You have to understand it from a liberal perspective. Okay, other than this, two Israeli tourists were shot dead by Egyptian cop at random. This was before the the call for the Global Day of Jihad. So you see that currently the entire Middle Eastern region is collapsing, but Hezbollah's issue is the biggest issue right now. What will Hezbollah do? Now, as you see, what is the current situation? That northern Gaza, people and civilians from northern Gaza have been told to relocate to southern Gaza, and people are fleeing. This is the picture that we got. Israel army drops flyers warning Gazans to evacuate immediately because they are preparing for a ground invasion. And the UN is saying that Gaza is about to collapse completely. Where will the people go? Because here you have the Mediterranean Sea, and then you have the Gaza Strip, which is just the size of Cape Town or Lucknow. And people and the civilians are the eventual sufferers here from both the sides. And Hezbollah's inclusion is the most important and game changer inclusion. Why? See, Hezbollah is basically a Shiite militant group, and it works as a both political party and paramilitary group, although it has been designated as a terrorist group by the US. A Shiite political party, it is, along with this, it actually holds 62 seats in the country's parliament. It is also supported by Iran-backed proxy militant unit. Iran supports Hezbollah's militant group, and Iran has been a declared enemy of the Jews. So how does Hezbollah get involved into this? We are going to judge the future course of movements through that only. Because Hezbollah right now is only firing certain warning shots, that too in southern Israel. But if it gets into northern Israel, then that's a problem. Because again, all the other countries that want to take hold of this particular region in West Asia, they will definitely get involved. And Iran has supported Hezbollah since time immemorial because it is doing a proxy war there. Iran is not present in the correct sense, but it is present through Hezbollah. Now, the problem is that in Lebanon, already economic crisis is going on. Lebanon, a triple-digit inflation is going on. Other than this, the currency has lost 90% of its value since 2019. Now, the people are poor. They can be radicalized easily for a small amount of money or even no money at all. Wherever there will be an economic vacuum, terrorism and radicalization will prevail. Other than this, why does Iran even want to, wipe off Israel? Because Iran believes with the help of Israel only, the CIA could kill Soleimani as well as Fakhrizadeh. Qasim Soleimani was the leader of the Iran Islamic Revolutionary Corps, and he was killed in 2020 in Baghdad. And Israel, according to Iran, has a lot to do with it. Other than this, Fakhrizadeh was developing the nuclear program, a nuclear scientist in Iran. He was also killed in the same year. So this is a good cause for Iran to avenge these two deaths. Also, as Nargis Mohammadi received the prize, the Nobel Peace Prize for the current year, that is also a problem for Iran, because Iran believes that whatever movements are going on by the women in Iran, it is supported by the USA. So all these actually are interrelated if you see. Now the problem is, what Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, what do they all have to say? This is the major issue right now, because right now we are seeing Saudi Arabia, UAE and Egypt are completely against the brotherhood. They do not support Iran. UAE and Bahrain have at least called out the grave escalation on the part of Hamas, but Qatar and Turkey are baying for Israel's blood. Now this is a good opportunity for countries such as Pakistan, Turkey, Iran and Afghanistan. They can use this emotion to radicalize their own population according to their causes. For Pakistan, it will be, of course, the Kashmir issue. That's no surprise at all. For Iran, of course, avenging the death of Qasim Soleimani and Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. Also for Afghanistan, it is the war against the West. So India has to remain alert. Even in India, there is a divided opinion. A chunk of the population supports Israel, another chunk of the population supports Palestine. The problem is that it's just an accident of birth. According to the survey that has been going on, most of the Muslims, it is natural for them to support Palestine. And most of the Jews, they will support, of course, Israel. But this is also problematic. Although this is natural, but also problematic. Why? Because if you would have been born a Jew, you would have definitely supported Israel. If you would have been born a Muslim, you would have definitely supported Palestine. We will not look at what is right and what is wrong. We will just support according to our birth. So this is the problem. But eventually we have to understand that it is more so a tribal conflict that is going on in West Asia. There is also a shift in policy. When the Prime Minister Modi tweeted on X that I stand with Israel and completely in support with Israel, that has signaled a huge shift. And that will definitely have a toll in the Lok Sabha elections. It will have an issue among the entire population because majority of the Muslims in India also support Palestine. But the thing is that the Ministry of External Affairs, which gives the official statement, and India has since time immemorial supported a two-nation, wouldn't call it a two-nation theory, but a diplomatic resolution between Israel and Palestine. It should not come to us as a surprise that the Ministry of External Affairs has given its support for sovereignty and integrity of Palestine. So this is also something we have to think about. Radicalization is very easy among the Kashmiri Muslims right now because emotions are high, sentiments are high. Even in Kashmir, Pakistan can infiltrate these emotions by the word jihad. So we have to remain alert in our neighborhood. Also, there could be a further marginalization of the already marginalized community. The division is pretty sharp. Social media gives us a lot of chance to divide ourselves further. Definitely it will give us a chance. And people will exploit that chance. Nobody actually has anything to believe about Israel or Palestine. But if they want to further their own agenda, they can use it to stir emotions. Even the political parties will do that. So it's so interconnected. International relations is a beautiful subject. It is so interconnected that you have to be compelled to think it from various point of views. And these point of views will be written in your examination paper. And that is why I always tell you to go by what the ministries are saying, to go by what the UPSC wants to hear. UPSC is a government exam, and the government exam will always want to hear what the ministries are saying because you will always work with the government, whichever government will be in power, be it Congress, be it NDA, be it any other X party. So you have to toe the lines of the ministries. Accordingly, you have to give a balanced opinion in your paper. So I hope this particular class will help you in that perspective. Thank you so much.